Hello, everyone. We are back with another episode of WWBTD. What would the behavior team do? My name is Kate. We have those familiar faces, Jen, Ashley, and we have two new faces with us today, Kate Diaz and Melissa from the Face Department. I'm going to actually start with a little icebreaker, as we always do, to get the blood flowing. So, Melissa, do you say caramel or caramel?
Caramel.
Interesting. Kate, what about you?
I say caramel as well.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Ashley, what about you?
Honestly, I do say both. And I think it depends on if I'm trying to be fancy or not. So caramel with the extra syllables, it's like caramel,
That's
So
okay.
I think I say both. I don't have a preference. I really don't.
Whatever you're feeling that day. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, personally, it's spelled caramel. So when I heard people say caramel, I was very confused growing up. But Jen, what do you say?
Would it be caramelo?
That's it.
Oh,
Take it easy, all right.
I didn't learn Spanish or English correctly, so I usually say caramel, but it's not caramelo, I believe.
Sort of depends on what area of the country you grew up.
It's true. Are we so I'm from East Coast.
Midwest.
East.
a Denver native.
Yeah, native too.
Okay.
Miami. It's kind of like its own country.
I was
So
gonna say, I'm like, Jen, you're different though.
not really the United States-ish, but yeah.
Okay, follow-up question. Caramel apple or candy apple? Ashley.
Caramel apple.
Okay. Kate?
Caramel apple.
Thank you for that pronunciation.
I mean, I think it's both, but I think to me, maybe candy apple.
Okay. And then Jen, what do you do in Miami?
Definitely caramel.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, great. Well, thank you everyone for sharing. I know so much more about each and every one of you. So Kate, I'm going to start with you. So Kate, you are the part of the Family Constituency Services, because for those of you who don't know, FACE stands for Family and Community Engagement, and there is a ton of them. So Kate, what do you do in your department?
So the family constituency team, first of all, consists of 6 of us. And the first, we have several different areas that we deal with. And the first one is that we answer the DPS helpline. The DPS helpline number goes out on all communications from DPS to the community and families. So it's out there. Average about 1,000 calls a month, sometimes more, like the last few months have been very, very intense. The calls range from just sort of informational, like, who do I talk to about doing my food application? Where do I go for needing something from HR? And a lot of it, we're just transferring callers to the different departments or giving them information about whatever it is with DPS. We often are taking them through the website to help them navigate that and figure out where they need to go. The second level or tier of our calls is really around concerns, issues. So we will have parents who call and they will want some more assistance than just a regular tier 1 call. So a parent might call us and say, I'm really upset with our school. they're not following the IEP correctly, or my student was disciplined for XYZ and we don't agree with what they did, and, you know, or my student was suspended, and, you know, sometimes they're extremely upset. So with those calls, we write them up as concerns, and a specialist is assigned to work with that parent. So the specialist, so if it's me, I call the parent back, I get more information, I explain what we do. I let them know that we work with the families and the school administration to try to resolve what problems they're having. We want to make sure the parents understand also that we don't take sides. You know, we're neutral in this because we don't want them to feel that we're just part of the school. So from there, we just basically do our research. We get more details about what's going on with the student issue. We look up information in IC if we need to find out more details. And then we talk to, usually it's the school principal, sometimes it's a dean or an AP, and we get their side of going, you know, well, this is what actually happened, this is what we put in place, this is the policy we used for discerning, you know, whether a student would be suspended, for instance. So we kind of get both sides. And we also take a look at what DPS policies, board policies are involved, because we want to make sure that the right steps are being taken. Sometimes, you know, schools, whether they're informed about certain policies enough or not, you know, may not follow a policy correctly. Or like with Title IX situations, we're really clear and pull in other people as needed to make sure everything is being followed correctly. So then, in order to resolve and try to improve relationships between parents and their schools, we do a facilitated mediation. So we will have, you know, the parents and the school staff together, and we kind of go over, you know, beginning, like any kind of facilitation, we do norms. We always ask the parents to speak first and kind of lay out what their issues are. And we have the school also respond of what's happening from their end. And then we really want to improve communication, so we go into making plans. And plans basically involved, what are the next steps? You know, do we need to follow up with another department? Do we need to be more clear with the parents understanding what exactly the issue was and how it was handled, and if policies were or were not handled properly and maybe something needs to be adjusted? So we go over next steps, and we also usually create some sort of communication plan. You know, the goal, as hard as these things may be sometimes, the goal is really to open up communications to at least some sort of comfort level for the parents and the school to be able to work together as a team, to be able to communicate in ways that are going to support the kids. Because we understand sometimes people come into these things really angry. Difficult things are sometimes said, but that is the goal. Let's figure out how we work together. And many times, you know, it's kind of amazing how some parents are more than willing, and administrations, to really become partners. And so, so that's a big part of what we do. I'm not sure how many a year, but I think there's something like, you know, 1,200 tier 2s through the year. we might do somewhere between 300 and 500 mediations. So there's one more tier, and that's in situations where we've done all of the work, we've researched everything, we've done the mediation, but our parents are not satisfied with the outcome.
Right.
And in those situations, which really aren't very many, but they do come up. And in those situations, we have to pull in operational superintendents, sometimes other leaders of certain departments, maybe discipline, maybe legal. It just kind of varies, because in these situations, oftentimes they might involve parents requesting appeals. Appeals can be requested for things like ban letters. Do any of you guys know what those are?
No, if you could actually.
I was just about to ask that, like, what's a
Yeah.
letter?
So we do have situations. I can't say how many, but it's rare. But we do have situations where we have family or community members come into a school and behave incredibly inappropriately. That can mean using language that is completely inappropriate in a school building, near children, running into classrooms and making a scene. I mean, there's situations like that that come up. So that's another thing we're responsible for, and that is, again, it's 3 levels, excuse me, of banning letters. So the first one is it's sent as a warning. You know, this is the behavior documented on this such and such a date, and if this should happen again, you may receive more of a warning. And this is a board policy. So that's one level. The second level is like a partial ban, where it's, you can come to the school, but you must check in at the office first. You can't be alone in the building, walking alone, sort of like you need to be escorted, that kind of a thing. And the third one is a complete ban, where they are not allowed to come in the school. Those are rare, but they do happen.
Okay.
So a parent may receive these and say, you know, I want to appeal the ban. And so that's where it would go up the ladder above what we normally do. It may also be, you know, suspension related or that kind of thing, where, you know, they want to, having spoken with someone from our team and the school administration, they're just not satisfied and they demand to see somebody above and beyond. And so that's when.
And that, would that be someone like just on the discipline team, like?
Well, sometimes it is, sometimes it is. Downing or Lisa Pashada sometimes will do meetings together. It's oftentimes the operational superintendent. Are you guys familiar with those, who those folks?
I just know the ISs. I don't know. Yeah.
So they used to all be ISs.
Okay.
And then I guess it's maybe been 2 years. Melissa, do you remember? 1 or 2 years, I think it's 2 years. They then split them into instructional superintendents and operational superintendents.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Instructional superintendents have everything that's in their bucket is instructional. operational superintendents, everything in their bucket is everything except instructional.
Okay.
So they are the ones that we end up partnering with when we need to have them involved in solving an issue at a school.
Okay. And you to say you typically only involve them at this tier 3 level.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you spend most of your time in the tier 1 and 2.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's
Fortunately, that's the case. And I should say too, besides the operational superintendents, sometimes we bring in like the senior managers from special education,
okay.
or other senior managers. So it's just that level above where most of DPS lands, you know, schools and us and this and that. So sometimes it's people in those positions.
That's really cool that you know, just the collaboration that you have with so many different departments, and also just hearing everything that you guys work through with families. I mean, you just have such a wide range of knowledge, you know, like between IEPs, discipline. I'm like, I don't know if I'd feel confident always coming in at tier 2, you know, like if we get exposure to this stuff, but I'm like, all my friends, from different departments come in. So I'm impressed that you guys work through all of those issues. That's really cool.
Thank you. Well, it takes a lot of training and just experience, because it's true. We work with everybody in the district. I mean, literally everybody. And so learning all those departments and what everyone is responsible for, it takes time. But what's great about it is that, you know, we bring a lot of people together, and we do a lot of coaching, both with administrators, you know, and with parents. And so being able to help in that education, to build those relationships, it's really awesome. I mean, believe me, there are times when we're like, ooh, oh no, help me. But it's really, really gratifying to see, you know, most of the outcomes being really positive.
Yeah. I think one thing that stuck out, and please, Ash or Jen, if you want to jump in at any point, but just that communication plan really stuck out to me between the families and school, because I think it's really wonderful that it just takes maybe one extra person to kind of bridge that gap. And, you know, because I think it's just been historically with certain, you know, populations or certain families that, you know, there isn't that relationship or that trust between school and home. So I just think it's really amazing that you're able to help that, like, foster those relationships, because it takes a village. I mean, it takes both.
It does.
You'll have such better success if everyone is working together in that way. So I think that's really cool.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Communication. And actually, I should add one more thing that we do, which I forgot about. We also do conflict resolution trainings.
Oh, no way.
So, for instance, well, I mean, in general, we can do them just about, you know, anywhere. Oftentimes, we do them when we see, what's the word I'm looking for? When we see trends. So for instance, if we go through the data with all the concerns and what schools and what the concerns are about. So when we review that data, we may notice that a specific school has a very high number of issues that deal with communication. So then we'll work a little more closely with that principal and oftentimes the operational superintendent, and we'll kind of dig deeper and go, let's see. Let's be specific about what these concerns are. Okay, they're saying nobody will call them back. They're saying that they come in to do something and it's made really difficult. So we sometimes will notice that a lot of this is happening, say, in the front office. So we'll go in and we'll train the front office staff.
Huh.
You know, it's like, we understand people come in angry, right? And it's easy to get defensive. It's easy to become really put off and this and that. But then we really talk them through how to deal with escalated people and how to try to turn that around. So, so that's another thing we do, which I think we've kind of grown into that just not very long ago, because we do see these specific trends at certain schools.
Do you all offer, because I'm thinking of like the band letters and you mentioned communication, and I know like as a mama bear, like you throw in that and then the emotions of, you know, someone feeling like something did happen and this may be the only way I know to communicate. And now I'm, you know, like I'm thinking of that. And so with these conflict resolution trainings, is that something that is possibly offered to parents as well, where they can also get tools and strategies that they can use when going into some of these tougher situations where there are emotions involved, and rightfully
Yeah.
so.
And you're right, rightfully so. I mean, and people aren't getting banned letters for, you know, yelling and screaming once or, you know, I mean, it's above and beyond that. So I want to make that clear, because we want our families and our parents in the schools, obviously. But we do, you know, we're not asked that often, but we do them at, and Melissa's can speak to this, the family,
The Family Leadership Institute.
Family Leadership Institute. So actually, I think that's taking place next week.
Yep, next week, the 21st from 4 to 6, we'll be having a training on how to effectively communicate with your school for families.
And so Jess, my manager, and I are going to be doing that training at the Family Institute.
No kidding. That's awesome.
And how do parents, as a parent, how do parents sign up for that?
Sure. So the FACE, my name is Melissa. I'm with the Family Empowerment Team. And so what we're doing, and this is something new based on the whole COVID situation. And so we've started a new website called the FACE University. And so this is a place where we have a bunch of resources for families. And within that FACE University, we have the Family Leadership Institute. And so we have the tab where you can register for the event. And then also one thing that, you know, we're working on is to recording all these trainings so that families are able to, if you're not able to make it on that day, you're able to still come back and see the full video. And we're also providing it in multiple languages. And so we've had our first one in September. And so our second one is going to be in the 21st of October. And then we have another one with your team, November 3rd. And then we have one more in January. So we'll be having 4 of these opportunities for families, and they all focus on different topics and, you know, to support families with their child's education. And so in February, we're hoping that if families are able to attend all 4 of these events, we'll be able to have a small virtual graduation for them, make it special. And so if families are also going beyond and above and going to other meetings, they'll be able to be placed in a small raffle and win a prize, hopefully. But that's all new this year. In the past, we've all had these in our superintendent forums, and so they've all been in-person events. And so obviously we can't do that this year, and so trying to still make it work for families so that we're still providing this important information to them, for them. This past in September, we had trauma-informed practices. And so I know that all of the families who attended, they were super, you know, passionate about this topic and really hoping that they're able to take this information back to their schools and share, you know, like, hey, I learned this information. How do we apply it into our classroom, into our school? And so that's really what the Family Leadership Institute is all about. In terms of the FACE University website, again, this is just a hub for families to come and find a bunch of resources, community resources, DPS resources, And then also we have a bunch of resources for technology. And so we know that families are using Seesaw, Schoology, and so we have videos walking families through how to utilize all those different apps. And so, yeah, that's new this year. It's finally launched this week, which I'm super happy about. So if families can go to our FACE website, there's going to be the FACE University link right there, and families can just click on that and they'll be able to get all this information.
Ah, that is so cool. I swear, some of these things that you're listing, like these are all things that our team has thought about, and the fact that you're already doing it is just so cool. And I'm just so glad that we've been able to come together right now. So are you? It sounds like a lot of this, what you're focusing on, Melissa, is like online stuff, and and trainings. Is that kind of the scope of what your team handles?
Yeah, so the family empowerment team does a lot of staff training and parents. So I'm the parent side of things, but we also have our volunteer services. She works with families, but she's also starting a whole virtual way of volunteering for people who want to volunteer. We also have one of our team members. She does our parent-teacher home visit program. And so she she used to go to schools, now is doing it virtually, but training staff on PTHV. And so what is the program? What's the point of the program? And so she does all of that work with staff. And then she also works with our school liaisons. And so providing them resources, just any opportunities for families. She's the one that's sending we have a bi-weekly newsletter for our liaisons, and so they're able to get all that information through there. And I partner with her a lot, especially with the FACE University and the Family Leadership Institute, on making sure that they're receiving the invites. The liaisons are receiving the invites to invite our families. And so we also have another staff. She's new to our team. She's our Asian community coordinator. And so she works with all our specifically Vietnamese community and making sure that they have the resources, that they understand a little bit more about the system. And so she does a lot of one-on-one calls. If families are having questions about returning to school, she's the one that she's kind of the mediator for our Asian families. And so that's really what our family empowerment team does. And so, we partner with a bunch of different DPS teams as well. And so just making sure that we're able to funnel all that information through the website to make sure that our families are able to get this information.
Right. That's awesome. What is the, how many families are involved in these trainings? Or are you having like a really great turnout so far?
Yeah, before when we were doing in person, because it's hard, like families are there for a couple of hours and they just want to go home and go on with their day. And so it was kind of hard to get families to come to these family leadership institutes. And so now that we're doing it virtually, we've had 40 people come. And so that's amazing. We've only had, I think, 5 people at the most in person. And so having 40 people come to this first training was super exciting and amazing. And I really think that the most important piece is that I want to hear from families. And so I always send out a feedback form at the end. And so if there's any topics that families want to, just learn about, to make sure that they put it on there, and I'll make it work. If I want to make sure that I'm giving families what they need, the trainings that they need. And so just also having that open communication. My number is everywhere. So just keeping that open communication and really hearing from our community and families on what is it that they want to learn from, or, just be part of.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. I think just that strategy of hearing from them and what they need is just so important. And I know that, in our training coming up, we're trying to foster a sense of community within just parents. Like, yes, we are a resource, but so much already, parents and families, I'm addressing you. So it's kind of like, let's share each other's strategies and kind of build community that way. I think it's really awesome.
Yeah. And one thing too that I wanted to mention, so we also have 3 other teams, and so all of these, we all are about community engagement. And so one of our teams, the school-based services team, they have base centers. And so if there's any family that, you know, just wants to have that extra support or needs extra resources, we have a faith center at Johnson Elementary, and then we also have another one at John MS. And so all of these phone numbers are on the Family and Community Engagement website. And so, you know, they're able to provide with food resources or how to pay rent or, you know, utility bills and things like that. And so they're even able to get clothing and diapers for families, formula. And so there's so much that we can support with. And so just making sure that families, you know, if there's a question, if there's a need, making that call, sending that email. And if we don't have the resource for it, we'll make sure to be able to connect the family to somebody who can support them.
And they also do English language classes. They do citizenship work, I believe.
Financial, I think, too.
Yeah, financial. I mean, they just do all kinds of things with parents. So it's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are totally blowing me away. I mean, as a parent, my 2 boys are also DPS students, and just, I mean, the importance of your work is just what keeps DPS moving, and it's such an important moving part. And I just want you to know that thank you for all that you do, and look forward to really working with you guys again.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes.
The more all of us, you know, can work together, it just grows, and we all learn from that too. So I'm excited to work more with you as well.
Yeah, I want to second that, like as a parent as well, like even hearing what both of you do, they're 2 different paths, but they're both paths that, you know, a lot of times, especially just in raising your child, and then you throw in education and you don't always know how to navigate that. And it can be a lonely feeling. And so like to know, like when maybe if I do have an issue, I don't know how to address within a school building, I have someone, you know, a resource that can walk with me through that. Or, you know, there's a strategy or skills that maybe I can grow on, and I have a resource, you know, that I now know about that I can use. So I think that's just, yeah, I second that appreciation as a parent, because you're not alone. Like it's reassuring.
And I think that the cool part too is we have staff who are bilingual. And obviously, if we don't speak the language, we utilize our interpretation services. And so for us, we are really trying to break as many barriers as as possible to make sure that we're able to support our families and really be their voice. If, you know, if they're needing something, that we're able to ask it if we need to go a little bit higher. And so, yeah, we are, I think working with families is really I used to be part of the with Kate's team. And, you know, I love that work because you do such a big impact, and families trust you and they see that you're there for them. And so I think that was such a rewarding feeling. But now also being part of how do we provide these trainings for families? How do we continue to expand, you know, the skill sets? I think I just love working with community, and I'm always here to listen and work off of, you know, any feedback that families might have, what we need to do to better support them.
That's incredible. I'm so glad that we had you both on here, and yeah, you heard it. Parents, families, caregivers, you are not alone. Melissa, can you say your last name for me? I've only read it in an email and I want to make sure.
Yeah. So it is Arriola Peña.
Okay, thank you so much. So we have Melissa, we have Kate Diaz. Her full name is Catherine, if you ever look her up. Yeah, you heard it. We look up FACE website. Does anyone know the hotline number off of the top of your head?
Yeah, it's 720-423-3054.
Amazing. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Jen and Ashley. As always, this is another episode of WWBTD. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks.